All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, this lesson is going to be about the start of the Renaissance. Okay. Some of you guys may have heard of it, you know, um, but some of you guys may not, or you may have forgotten. But that's okay. That's what we're here for, to learn about this. Okay. Now, the objective today, we're going to analyze how the term Renaissance has more than one meaning. We're examining the difference between Dark Ages and Renaissance art, pretty distinctive. And we're going to create an argument on whether Niccolo Machiavelli was has an argument about people. So here is your warm-up picture. Now here's the thing: what I've come to realize about this warm-up with my classes earlier, this week. Um, this may have been too difficult of a question. I don't know. It may not be for you particularly. Looking at overall, and basically what I'm asking you is to look at the picture, on your left, and look at the picture on your right, and tell me what differences you see. And I don't mean differences like, oh, there are more people on the other one than the one on the right. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, look at the colors. Look how which one looks more realistic. That's why I put on the hints on there for you too. Look at like where the hands are and think to yourself realistically and look at the position of like the let's say the baby. Which one looks more realistic? You know, so look at all that stuff. Put that into consideration and things like that. You know, give two examples that you see. Again, look at color. Look at things like depth. If you haven't taken art class yet, um, depth is things like, uh, something like right now, my face on this video is really close, but my whiteboard on this side, there it is. That whiteboard behind me, that's about a good 5 feet away. So you can see there's a distance between myself and that whiteboard behind me. You know, so that's what I mean. Look at this stuff and analyze it. Really look at it and break it down and analyze it. Look at it and say, okay, this and this, I see these differences, you know. And again, mainly look at too like the realism. Which one looks more realistic? The background and everything, the way the person looks, the way the body language, everything, all that stuff. Okay, so pause the video, really look at these two pictures, break it apart, and write your response. Okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. So if you remember from last lesson, we talked about the Black Death, the bubonic plague, and how it wiped out so many people in Europe. Um, Now that the Black Death is over, you know, the church basically tried to come in and say, "Hey, remember, you should be living your life like this, and you should be doing this, and you should be doing that." You know, go back to being peasants, and people were like, "No, where were you guys when my mom, dad, little nephew, my kids were dying of the plague? Where were you? Were you giving them their last rites? Were you hearing their confessions? Were you doing anything to save their souls? No, you guys were hiding out in your churches. You basically condemned those people to hell. So no, we're not going to listen to you. So this was like the first time really people stood up to the church and said, "No, we're not buying what you're saying anymore." Okay? Now, was this everybody? No, of course not. But a large amount of people were just really upset with the church at this time. Now, the Renaissance. The word Renaissance literally means rebirth. And we're talking a rebirth in everything. People see a new way of life and things like that. You know, there's now a new appreciation for things. So there's that was old, now it's being rediscovered. So there is a rebirth in so many different aspects, especially when it comes to art. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Now, where did the Renaissance start? It started off in Italy. Okay, from Italy, then it went to Europe. Okay, and it spread like wildfire. And a lot of cities that embraced the Renaissance, especially those in Italy, um, really became wealthy because people wanted to see the newest artwork, newest sculptures, the newest architecture. You know, um, people now had money to spend, and they wanted to see things and experience things and stuff like that. New things, not like the old ways. Forget that. The Dark Age stuff. Forget that. You know, and also, we're talking about rebirth. It was stuff like the Greeks and Romans. There, people realized, what? They had a good idea back then. Why did we get away from that? Why did our ancestors not continue that type of philosophy, education, government, things like that? Why did we go to all of a sudden working in crops? You have a king, nobles, things like that. Why did we go to that? You know, let's go back to the way things were with the Romans and Greek. They had a great thing. So politics and art came back full force. Okay. Now, if you look at these top two pictures, um, the top two are Dark Age work. The bottom two are Renaissance. Now, here's the thing. If you look at that top one on the right side, the top right one, look at that kid. Look where that lady's hands are. She's like this, right? Her hands are out here. And look how that kid is. If someone's hands are like this, right? Where that kid gonna go? The physics doesn't make sense. Even if the kid is sitting on that person's arm, what are they gonna do? They're gonna slide off, right? And yeah, one foot is on the other hand, but no, And look at the kid's head to the proportion of the body, and then at the lady's body and head. It's it's just not there. Okay, that type of pictures are two dimensional. Okay, so if you've ever played the old school Nintendo games that your parents probably played, your grandparents more likely played, um, those like Mario is like this. They're two dimensional. They're just very, you know, that's two dimension. We got three. Wow, look at that. Wow, three dimensions. That's where the bottom art came in. You know, if you look at the arms are very, you see the curvature, the depth, and things like that. Okay. Also, the top two pictures, the artists didn't really want to take credit for it because they felt back then that, God gave me this talent. I need to show off the gift that God gave me. But I'm not going to take any credit for it because this picture that I make is in credit to God. But in the Renaissance time, people were like, oh, heck no, I did this amazing painting. It's my talent. I should get recognition for it. And they put their name to their work. So some of the most important Renaissance men were these guys. Number one, without a doubt, hands down, he is the true definition of a Renaissance man. Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci was a painter, sculptor, architect, inventor, mathematician. The guy did it all. Okay. Now, if you look at the top of these four pictures, the top to the left, the one of Jesus and the Virgin Mary, that is Da Vinci's sculpture. He made that from rock. So if you look at that cloth, the whole thing is made of rock. But that cloth, I mean, dang, that looks amazing. Let me move my little video thing right there. Okay. The next person, Michelangelo. I'm gonna kill this name. Di Lodovico Buonarroti Simone. Okay, I can only see the last name. He too was a Renaissance man who was a sculptor, painter, architect, and a poet. Okay. The next person, Raphael Giovanni Santi. Okay. Um, he painted the one that's on the bottom to the left. I'm sorry, Michelangelo did the one to the top to the right. Da Vinci did the one again, the statue, and Raphael Santi did the one below the statue of Jesus. Okay. So Raphael Santi was a painter and an architect. He made several churches and buildings and stuff like that around the Vatican and Rome and things like that. Okay. Sandro Botticelli was a painter, and one of the other very famous Renaissance men was this guy named Donatello, and he was a very talented sculptor. His one of his is that one you see that little kid right there in the corner. Um, I always point out, look at the kid's clothing. It looks so real, right? But it's rock. It's marble. How does somebody make rock look like just straight clothing? That's a trip. That's talent. That's skill. Okay. Now, like I've had some students in class basically tell me, wait, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello, isn't that the name of? And it's like, yes, yes. If you know it, awesome. That's great. And I've always said this, if that's how you remember these guys' names, so be it. There's no shame in that. Okay, that's knowledge. Being able to connect those guys' names to these basically characters. Yeah. Okay, and they are named after these guys. It's not a mistake. Those four characters are named after these Renaissance men purposely. Okay, it's not by accident. All right, so again, oh, well, let me move the camera thing back down. There we go. Okay, so again, a lot of these nobles, it's like that these little guys who had little kingdoms around were like, "Hey, you should follow me." That's not. The people are like, "No, no, 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 no more of that. You have no power." So basically, they said, the cities, these big cities, the cities that start getting powerful, more money and things like that, they became independent. You know, they started like, well, we can take care of ourselves. We don't need no stinking king. Okay, so places like Milan, Venice, Florence, they were crucial in the Renaissance, and their expansion was pretty impressive, and their influence spread as well. Now, like I told you guys from a couple lessons before, um, Tenochtitlan, the city of the Aztecs, where they built the city on top of a lake. And I told you there was only two cities like that: Tenochtitlan and Venice. Venice is still like that to this day. Um, if you've ever seen the movie Spider-Man: Far From Home, where Spider-Man takes on the water monster, that is in the town of Venice. Okay, that you have to travel to go from one side to the other. You have to go through bridges or on boat. Okay. Now here's the thing. Back when the Crusades was happening, those ports were being very popular, very profitable. In that people needed to go there, the ships needed to be there, so they had to pay a fee to be at the port. Now the Crusade happened, or sorry, not the Crusade, the Black Death happened, and a lot of those people died in those Italian port cities. Remember when the boats would come with dead people and stuff like that? The disease would spread, and a lot of people died in those port towns. So now it's like, oh, who owns them? So some families said, you know what, I'll buy it. I'll buy those ports, and they became very powerful and very rich. Three of the most powerful: the Visconti, the Forza, and the I always kill this Medici. Medici. Okay, those three families became very popular, very powerful, and just rich, 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 rich. Now, this guy you see the sculptor of, that is Niccolo Machiavelli. He wrote this book called The Prince. Okay, and in his book, he talks about how to acquire and keep political power. Now, he was basically saying in his book, the old way of thinking needs to go. Morals should not be in a leader. So I gave you the example in class. Let's say in order to save 1,000 random people, you had to kill a 5-year-old kid. Would you do it? I had a lot of students saying no, and I had some saying, well, yeah. Well, especially if I don't know the kid, then yeah. I was like, well, what if you know him? Oh, then no, I wouldn't. I don't know those other 1,000 people, so I'd let them die. You know, and I would tell them, see, that's the thing. You know them, so your morals kick in, saying, well, hey, I know that kid. I know him. You know, So that's the thing. And 1,000 random people could be like your mom, your grandpa, or whoever. It's random. So it could be them, you know? So you're saving this kid you know, and you're sacrificing more people you might know. So that's the thing. He's saying no. You should make the decision whether it's the person you know or don't know. Kill that kid, save 1,000 people because that's the right thing to do. Save more people than sacrificing 1,000 for one. No, you save 1,000, kill one, and that's what he's saying. Morals has little to do with politics. It's about doing the right thing, doing what's best for the majority as opposed to the minority. He also said that our attitudes as people are self-centered. That we think about ourselves always. Every decision we do is for ourselves. Now, for years, I've been teaching this, and I've had some students say, "Well, no, I do things that are not just for myself." I'm like, "Well, explain." And they're like, "Well, I take out my neighbor's trash." I was like, "Who's your neighbor?" "Oh, this is old lady." "Oh, so why do you take it out for her?" "Well, because she can't." "So you feel sorry for her?" You kind of. So that's the thing. You're now taking out her trash because you feel sorry for her. So you're because of your feeling bad, you're taking her trash. So you're doing it to make yourself feel good. And somebody else says something to the effect of like, "Oh well, I help my friends." Well, who were they again? My friends. Yeah. So you have a connection with them. So you're doing it again, not for just yourself. You're doing it for, not just them. You're doing it for yourself because they're your friends, and you feel obligation to help your friends. So you're satisfying that obligation in yourself. You see what I mean? So I want you to to really think about that. It's like every decision is self-centered. We get something out of it always. That's what he's saying. And again, he said leaders should be basically behave on behalf of the state. They shouldn't be thinking about themselves. They shouldn't be like, "Oh, what can I get from me? How can I get the most out of this?" No. Now, this last part is one of my favorite parts in his book. He says, "Do good when possible, evil if necessary." Meaning you should always try to do good. Try to do the best you can, you know, when it's available. But if you have to do some evil things, do it. That's if you're a leader. If you're the leader of a country. Sometimes you got to get your hands dirty. People are going to hate you, but hey, you know what? That's what you got to do. All right, so here's my question to you. Do you believe that Machiavelli is right? That it's human nature for people to be self centered? Why or why not? Okay, really think about it. Every decision that we make is self centered. Is he right? So really think about it. Okay, and explain why you say yes or you say no. Explain. Give an example if you can on if you say yes or you say no. Okay. So once you finish this question, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay. So with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.